what happens when a human forms a bond with one of the most mysterious creatures on Earth. In the dense forests where legends come alive, one man's friendship with a living Bigfoot has stunned scientists and skeptics alike. From secret encounters to moments that defy belief, this story uncovers a connection the world never thought possible. Stay with us, because what he experienced in the wilderness will leave you speechless. A forest encounter that shouldn't have happened. A quiet morning in the mountains began like any other for the man who had always trusted the wilderness more than crowded cities. The air carried that cool scent only deep forests produce, a blend of soil, pine, and mist. Yet, as he stepped farther from the trail, something about the atmosphere shifted. The comfort he expected from nature was replaced with an unusual stillness that pressed against his senses in a way he could not explain. Further along the path, the trees seemed to lean inward as though observing him. Their shadows overlapped in peculiar patterns that made the ground look like it was shifting in slow waves. The silence deepened with each step until not even the rustle of a squirrel interrupted the tension. He had explored these woods for years and could list every animal known to wander the region, yet this silence was unlike anything he had ever experienced. High on a ridge, an unexpected flicker of movement caught his eye. A branch snapped without wind, sending a fresh vibration through the air. That single sound created a tremor of unease, as though someone had just stepped out of sight. He paused and narrowed his eyes at the tree line, noticing that the shadows there lingered longer than they should, clinging to one spot with uncanny steadiness. Down the slope, the underbrush swayed in a rhythm too controlled to be random. He could see the ferns bending as if pushed by a creature pacing in a circle. Animals typically moved with erratic bursts of motion, yet this movement had purpose. Every shift seemed calculated, like footsteps placed quietly by something that understood the forest with mastery. Not far from his position, a sudden vibration traveled through the ground, subtle yet unmistakable. Heavy weight was being carried nearby, far heavier than the deer or elk that usually roamed the region. He crouched behind a fallen tree, pressing his fingers to the dirt, feeling the faint tremors pulse through the soil. The realization that something enormous was walking without making noise startled him more than the tremors themselves. Deeper into the woods, the canopy above dimmed unexpectedly. A massive figure crossed between two thick trunks, visible only for a heartbeat, before melting back into the foliage. The glimpse was brief, yet unmistakable in its outline. The shoulders were broader than any animal he knew, the height impossible for any human. He blinked several times, questioning if the shadow had been a trick of the light. Closer to the stream, the environment produced another strange sign. Birds, that normally scattered at the presence of humans, remained silent on their branches, most facing the same direction. It was as if they were staring at the same unseen creature that had been tracking him. Their unusual stillness served as a warning that the forest was holding its breath for something far more powerful. At the heart of a clearing, the man sensed the presence again. Every instinct sharpened, urging him to turn back, yet a stronger pull kept him rooted. The air thickened, carrying a faint musky scent unfamiliar to him. He knew every common forest smell, yet this one belonged to a creature he had never encountered. His pulse thrummed as he realized the forest itself seemed to be responding to whatever was watching him. As the sun peeked through the canopy, the figure reappeared at the far edge of the clearing for a silent moment before slipping away once more. It did not behave like prey or predator. It behaved like something evaluating him with intelligence, waiting to see how he would react to its presence. What kind of being moves through a forest with such deliberate control, appearing only when it chooses to be seen? Stay with us as the mystery deepens. Signs of an unseen intelligent presence. The clearing remained still long after the towering figure slipped back between the trees. The man remained frozen, unsure whether stepping forward would provoke a reaction. Slowly, the forest regained its rhythm, as though whatever had been watching him intentionally withdrew its influence. He inhaled deeply, trying to settle his shaken nerves, then moved cautiously toward the area where the enormous silhouette had last appeared. At the far end of the clearing, the ground revealed an unusual disturbance. The soil was flattened in several spots, but not in the pattern left by a resting animal. Instead, it formed a curved path that wrapped gently around a cluster of stones. He knelt down, tracing the outline with his fingertips, noting how smooth the indentation felt. Something had stood there repeatedly, following the same arc, almost like pacing. A few steps farther, a peculiar arrangement caught his attention. Several tall grasses had been folded into looping shapes, each loop tucked precisely into the next. Nature never created such patterns by accident. The loops were equal in size, placed with deliberate spacing, their ends woven tightly, as if crafted by hands capable of fine control. The intricate design reminded him of coded symbols, a silent message left by something that understood structure. Near a fallen log, another anomaly waited for discovery. A set of branches had been stacked vertically, each leaning against the next with perfect balance. The sticks varied in length, but formed a symmetrical tower that defied the haphazard nature of wild debris. He lightly touched the top branch, surprised at how secure it felt. The construction displayed intention, not instinct, a clear sign of a mind calculating weight and center of gravity. Beside a moss-covered boulder, claw-free markings etched clean lines across the surface. These were not scratches from territorial behavior or the random scraping from an animal rubbing against stone. The lines were straight and parallel, marked with equal spacing. The grooves appeared shallow at first, but when he brushed the moss aside, they extended much deeper, revealing a pattern that stretched in a perfect semicircle. It looked like a symbol, yet one he could not associate with any known culture. As he circled the boulder, the forest produced another quiet revelation. A section of tree bark had been peeled away in a smooth sheet, not torn or shredded. The edges were neat and seamless, showing a level of precision beyond the capability of any animal he knew. On the exposed trunk beneath, a series of small diagonal cuts formed a gentle spiral that climbed upward. Each cut was clean, almost surgical, spaced evenly as though measured by an unseen hand. A few meters ahead, the roots of an ancient cedar revealed an even stranger sign. A polished stone had been placed between two roots, positioned so perfectly it balanced without wobbling. Its surface had been scraped into a small circle, the center hollowed just enough to hold a single pine needle standing upright. No natural force could have arranged such an object with that degree of stability. It was a placement that implied understanding of angles, weight, and intention. Beside the cedar, a trail of faint impressions led deeper into the woods. They were not footprints exactly, but more like impressions made by something moving gracefully, almost gliding. The indentations lacked sharp edges, suggesting that whatever formed them distributed its weight in an unusual way. Each impression was spaced far apart, indicating significant height, yet the pressure remained light, as if the creature moved with extraordinary control over its own mass. As he followed the impressions, a subtle realization formed in his mind. None of these signs belonged to common wildlife. None matched the behavior of people who occasionally camped in the area. Each detail pointed toward a presence that could manipulate its environment with understanding, precision, and purpose. Something out there was not simply watching him. It was communicating through symbols only it understood. What kind of mind could create such signs with this level of control and silence? Come with us to explore the hidden corners of the story. A giant silhouette reveals a hidden truth. The faint impressions on the forest floor guided him deeper into the trees, each step pulling him toward the unknown presence that had left such deliberate signs. The man moved carefully, aware that every shift of his weight echoed through the underbrush. The forest no longer felt merely silent. It felt attentive, as though every branch and stone waited for the next move in a hidden dialogue he had not meant to begin. Ahead of him, the light dimmed abruptly. A ridge of ancient pines rose like a barrier, their trunks thick with age, their branches twisted into natural arches. The impressions he had been following grew farther apart, yet each one remained unmistakably shaped by something massive and graceful. Whoever made them had mastered the art of moving through wilderness without disturbance. Beyond the ridge, a narrow trail wound between two enormous boulders. As he stepped into the passage, the temperature dropped noticeably. The sudden chill made him pause, listening for any movement. Nothing stirred. The air hung heavy, almost expectant, as if the forest itself was holding a breath. He pressed forward, driven by equal parts caution and curiosity. At the end of the passage, the ground opened into a wide, natural basin ringed by towering cliffs. The walls rose high enough to block most of the sky, allowing only thin columns of sunlight to stretch across the floor. The basin was quiet, but not in the lifeless way of normal stillness. It carried the sensation of being used, watched, and maintained by something that claimed the space as its own. Near the center of the basin, a shallow pool reflected the broken sunlight. Its surface was smooth as glass, untouched by wind or falling leaves. Something about the water's perfect clarity made him walk toward it instinctively, drawn by the sense that whatever lived here had shaped this place with intention. The pool seemed almost ceremonial, a natural mirror waiting for a purpose he did not yet understand. On the far side of the pool, a massive shadow shifted. The man froze, breath lodged painfully in his chest. The shape rose gradually, its silhouette stretching upward in a slow movement that displayed both strength and control. It did not rush, it did not hide, it simply stood, revealing a height that dwarfed even the tallest man he had ever seen. The creature's outline remained partly in shadow, but enough light reached its form to show powerful shoulders, long arms, and a presence that radiated intelligence. It held itself upright, not in the posture of an animal, but in the stance of a living being aware of its own authority. The creature did not advance or retreat. Instead, it observed him with a calmness that made the situation even more surreal. For several long seconds, neither moved. The man felt the weight of the creature's silent assessment, as though it tried to understand his purpose. The air between them thickened, not with danger, but with profound recognition. He realized with startling clarity that the creature had been expecting him. The signs in the forest, the symbols, the arranged branches, the woven grass loops, they had not been warnings. They had been invitations. The creature finally tilted its head, a small but deliberate gesture that conveyed awareness. Its presence radiated a quiet confidence, the kind that came from existing beyond human reach for generations. The way it stood suggested patience, control, and a level of reasoning that challenged everything he believed about myth and reality. A moment later, the creature stepped backward into the shadowed tree line, not in fear but in a motion that felt like guidance, as if urging him to choose whether he would follow into deeper truth or retreat to the safety of ignorance. What kind of encounter awaits when a legend decides to step into the open instead of hiding in fear? Let us guide you into what no one expected. Earning the trust of a reluctant giant. The creature's quiet step back into the shadows left the man with a decision he could not take lightly. The forest basin felt like a threshold between two realities, one familiar and one unexplored. He inhaled slowly, steadying his nerves before moving toward the place where the towering silhouette had disappeared. Each step demanded courage he had not known he possessed, yet something about the creature's calm presence encouraged him to continue. On the path leading out of the basin, the forest displayed a new shift in its mood. The branches hung lower, not with weight, but as though forming a natural canopy that shaped a protected corridor. The ground felt undisturbed, indicating that the creature moved with a precision that left no typical trace. The man realized he was walking inside territory designed for secrecy, revealed only to those the creature chose to lead. A few minutes into the trail, a small clearing emerged, scattered with remnants of forest offerings. Pine cones were arranged in circular rings, each ring containing a single smooth stone in the center. The arrangement held a quiet sense of ritual, suggesting that the creature understood the significance of pattern and meaning. None of the objects were broken or misplaced, revealing that this space was maintained with deliberate care. From the edge of the clearing, a faint rustle carried through the branches. The man turned slowly and saw the creature partially visible behind a large spruce. Its massive frame remained mostly concealed, but one deep-set eye reflected a glint of sunlight. The creature watched him, not with suspicion, but with a cautious interest that invited patience. The man lowered himself into a seated position, demonstrating he had no intention to threaten or retreat. Across the distance, the creature responded with subtle shifts of its posture. Its shoulders loosened and its hands relaxed at its sides. It seemed to recognize that he understood the unspoken boundaries between them. The creature stepped closer, not fully emerging, but close enough for him to sense the power behind its controlled movements. Every motion was measured, communicating awareness beyond instinct. After several minutes, the creature tilted its head slightly, then turned as if to walk deeper into the forest. It paused, waiting to see if the man would follow. The invitation was unmistakable. With a steady breath, he rose to his feet and walked behind it, keeping a respectful distance. The creature moved with an astonishing combination of agility and strength, weaving through narrow passages with ease while never breaking contact with the path. Farther into the woods, a quiet enclosure revealed another unexpected display of intelligence. Several long branches had been woven into a partial wall, forming an open-sided structure that resembled a primitive shelter. The weaving showed intricate layering, each branch anchored tightly into the next. The craftsmanship demonstrated not only strength, but a comprehension of design that surpassed any animal behavior known to science. The creature stepped beside the structure and placed one large hand gently on the woven branches. Its gesture felt intentional, almost explanatory, as if offering the man a glimpse into its world. The structure was not just a shelter, it was a sign of culture, a testament that this being had traditions, practices, and a sense of place that reached beyond simple survival. For the first time, the creature fully emerged into the light. Its height towered above the man, yet its presence radiated nothing but quiet confidence. Dark hair covered its body, thick and layered, while its face held a blend of human-like depth and animal resilience. The eyes, however, told the real story. Intelligence lived behind them, calm and observant, carrying a depth that hinted at experiences stretching far into the unknown. As the creature stood before him, a strange understanding formed between them. Trust was not given immediately, but it was beginning to grow in the silent exchange of presence. The man sensed that he had just entered a relationship shaped not by fear, but by the slow building of recognition. What deeper secrets might unfold once a creature of legend begins to accept a human as part of its hidden world? Stay with us as the next twist unfolds. Discovery of a secret shelter in the wilderness. The creature's acceptance lingered in the air long after it stepped back from the woven structure. Its calm acknowledgement carried the weight of a silent promise, urging the man to follow deeper into terrain few humans had ever entered. The forest ahead grew denser, stitched with narrow passages shaped by countless seasons. Each bend seemed designed to obscure trails, providing natural protection to whatever lived beyond the visible paths. Moving behind the creature, the man noticed how the ground changed beneath his feet. The soil became dark and compact, as though compressed by centuries of movement from something that walked with great mass. Occasional impressions hinted at massive strides, but the subtlety of the marks proved that the creature knew how to move with impressive control. Each footprint appeared deliberate, placed in areas where the earth absorbed weight most quietly. As the terrain rose, the surrounding vegetation shifted. Tall ferns formed a sweeping curtain that brushed lightly against his arms. Their pattern suggested that something sizable parted them regularly, keeping a hidden route open. Behind the green curtain, the air cooled, carrying a scent of damp stone and ancient wood, a fragrance reserved for places untouched by casual explorers. Near the base of a cliff, a narrow opening revealed a downward path. The creature paused, glancing back at him with a steady gaze. There was no vocal instruction, yet the meaning was unmistakable. This was a threshold it had rarely shared with others. He nodded, acknowledging the significance, then stepped carefully into the space the creature had offered. Further down the slope, the terrain flattened into a secluded valley. Sunlight filtered through only in thin beams, giving the surroundings a dim, almost reverent glow. The valley carried an eerie harmony, filled with an undercurrent of quiet movement. Leaves shifted gently despite the still air, as though unseen lives moved beneath the surface. The natural silence felt shared, not imposed, as if the environment itself recognized him as a temporary guest. At the far end of the valley, a structure rose that defied simple explanation. Built from a combination of fallen trunks, intricately bent saplings, and stacked stones, it formed a vast shelter, integrated seamlessly into the land. The construction displayed strength and artistry, each wall aligned with the curve of the valley, blending so well with the surrounding forest, thus that he might have missed it if not for the creature guiding him directly to it. Approaching the shelter, he noticed details that revealed a level of craftsmanship rare even among human builders of ancient cultures. Thick branches were woven in layered patterns, forming a wall that resisted both wind and rain. Stone components fit together without gaps, forming natural insulation that trapped warmth. Smaller roots wrapped around structural beams, reinforcing them like organic ropes that tightened with moisture. It was architecture guided not by tools, but by an understanding of the forest that surpassed human intuition. Inside the shelter, the air felt warmer and deeply still. The interior opened into several connected chambers, each shaped with specific purpose. One chamber contained a circular pit lined with smooth, flat stones, revealing that the creature understood controlled heat. Another space held a collection of large leaves arranged in a layered bedding formation, each leaf chosen for thickness and flexibility. Nearby, a series of river stones had been arranged into a subtle pattern, echoing the symbolic designs he had seen earlier in the forest. Toward the center of the shelter, a wall displayed markings unlike any he had encountered before. These were not carved, but pressed into softened clay, forming shapes that resembled visual storytelling. Some depicted the outline of large figures moving across mountainous terrain. Others showed clusters of trees with slanted lines representing rainfall or migration. The markings hinted at a culture capable of recording experiences, passing knowledge forward, and communicating through images. Across the chamber, the creature settled onto a smooth patch of ground and looked at him with a poised calm. Its enormous frame seemed at ease here, surrounded by the environment it had shaped with its own hands. The creature's eyes carried a depth that suggested history, tradition, and memory far older than any trail marker or forest sign. He felt an unexpected sense of privilege, standing inside a place built by a being long considered a myth. As he absorbed the moment, another realization surfaced. The shelter was not just a home. It was evidence of a lineage, a hidden community, perhaps even a family structure concealed from human discovery. Every detail pointed toward the existence of an entire world, thriving parallel to his own, separated only by secrecy and centuries of instinctive caution. What truths could emerge if this hidden world chose to share its story with someone willing to listen? Stay with us as the secrets grow even darker. a life-saving intervention that changed their bond. The shelter's quiet stillness lingered in his thoughts long after he stepped outside into the cool forest air. The creature moved ahead of him, guiding him away from the valley with slow, deliberate strides. Its behavior carried a sense of purpose, as though it wanted to show him another part of its hidden world. He followed closely, still processing the enormity of what he had witnessed inside the handcrafted chambers. A faint rumble rose from the distance as they neared a gorge shaped by a fast-moving stream. The water surged with more force than usual, swollen from recent rainfall. The creature crossed effortlessly, leaping from rock to rock with incredible balance. The man tried to follow its path, stepping carefully across the slick stones. The roar of the current drowned out his movements, making each step feel more uncertain. A sudden misstep changed everything. His foot slipped on a wet stone, sending him crashing sideways into the frigid water. The current seized him instantly, pulling him downstream with terrifying speed. He struggled to regain control, but the force of the water kept dragging him toward a sharp bend, where jagged rocks jutted out from the bank. The realization that he would not reach the edge in time sent a wave of fear through him. Above the rushing water, a powerful splash erupted. The creature lunged into the stream with astonishing force, swimming against the current with strokes that cut through the water like blades. Its enormous arm wrapped around his chest, lifting him upward as though he weighed nothing. The creature's strength overpowered the current, pulling him free from the deadly bend and steering him toward the safety of the bank. On the shore, the creature set him gently on the grass, crouching beside him with steady focus. Its breathing remained calm despite the rescue. The man, trembling from shock, met the creature's gaze and saw a new intensity behind its eyes. This was not simply an act of instinct. It was an act of choice, a deliberate decision to protect someone it now considered part of its world. For the first time, he felt the weight of a bond that went beyond curiosity or cautious trust. The creature had risked its own safety to save him, revealing a depth of loyalty few humans ever experienced. That moment shifted their relationship forever, marking the beginning of a connection built on shared survival. What deeper truths might unfold after a creature of legend proves its loyalty in the most life-changing way. Walk with us into the truth that was never meant to surface. The silent pact between man and legend. The rescue changed something fundamental in the quiet balance between them. As the man recovered on the riverbank, the creature sat nearby in a steady crouch, never taking its eyes off him. The forest around them rustled softly, as if acknowledging the moment when two worlds had crossed a line that could not be undone. The man felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, one that words could never express, especially to a being that communicated through presence rather than speech. When he finally stood on steady legs, the creature rose beside him with the same measured calm it always displayed. It seemed to assess his condition with a silent intelligence, then turned toward a narrow path leading deeper into the woods. The man followed quietly, understanding now that every direction the creature chose held meaning. The path wound between moss-covered stones and clusters of towering ferns, carrying them far from the roar of the river that had nearly claimed him. In a shaded glen, the creature paused beneath a massive cedar. The air there felt different, filled with a sense of permanence. Roots twisted through the earth in ancient patterns, and the canopy above allowed only scattered beams of sunlight to reach the ground. With slow movements, the creature knelt beside a large, flat stone and placed a hand on its surface. Its gesture held a depth that made the man realize this place was important, a location not meant for strangers. A subtle shift in the creature's posture revealed the purpose of their arrival. It faced him fully, its enormous frame outlined by the thin shafts of light filtering through the leaves. In its eyes, he saw something he had not noticed before. It was not fear or hesitation, but recognition. A recognition that he had crossed the boundary, separating humans from the unseen world that existed quietly beside them. Without a sound, the creature extended its hand. The gesture was simple, yet profound. It was an offering of trust, a silent agreement that what he had witnessed would remain protected. The man understood immediately. This was a pact not built on spoken promises but on shared experience and life preserved. With steady breath, he placed his hand against the creature's palm. Its warmth felt grounded and real, a reminder that the legends whispered in the mountains had always been more than stories. They were guardians of a world humans rarely noticed, existing in the spaces where silence carried truth. In that moment, the man knew the forest would never feel the same again. He walked away with a secret shaped not by fear but by respect, a secret he would carry quietly, honoring the creature that had allowed him a glimpse into a life hidden far from human eyes. Were you amazed by the unbelievable friendship between this man and a real Bigfoot, and the secrets it revealed about the hidden world around us? Share with us which moment left you completely stunned.